FEMA. These are new words to practice. Say each word 10 times. Now we have volunteers. Volunteers. Volunteers are people who help out and don't get paid for something. Hazard. Hazard. A hazard is a danger. Evacuate. Evacuate. Evacuate means you have to leave someplace because of some kind of danger. Federal. Federal. This usually discusses the government in terms of a national policy or response instead of a like prefectural or a state or a city. Emergency. Emergency. We should be okay with emergency. Management. Management. Management is the people or the department who are in charge of things. Agency. Agency. An agency is a group or a department or, some kind of place. I mean, not necessarily a place, but a group of people who will do something in particular. Disaster. Disaster. We should know what a disaster is. All right, so choose one word and write it. I'm going to do hazard. All right, let's do FEMA. A children's center had been built in an earthquake zone. Could the center be saved, or would the buildings have to come down? FEMA officials came to help. They showed how the building could be strengthened. Then they told volunteers what to do so that no one would get hurt if an earthquake struck. Volunteers did what FEMA told them. They bolted down cribs and televisions. They bolted hot water heaters to the wall. They put special shields over the lights. People in a town wanted to build a new school. Where should the school be built? Town officials went to FEMA. They asked to see FEMA's hazard maps. A hazard is a danger. A hazardous area is an area where there is great danger. There is great risk. FEMA makes hazard maps. The maps show hazardous areas in the U.S. They show floodplains. They show earthquake zones. By looking at the maps, the people knew where to build the school. They did not want to build the school in the floodplain. This way, the school would never be flooded. A hurricane is spotted. FEMA officials pay attention. They warn people in towns where it might hit. They help the people prepare for the storm. Sometimes they tell the people to evacuate. When people evacuate, they leave. They go. FEMA helps set up places where people can go. After the storm, FEMA helps people get back home. They help them rebuild. What is FEMA? FEMA is the Federal Emergency Management Agency. FEMA helps with disasters all across the country. Disasters may be natural. They may be due to earthquakes. They may be due to floods. They may be due to hurricanes. Some disasters are not natural. They may be man-made. They may be due to a chemical spill. They may be due to an explosion. No matter the cause of the disaster, the Federal Emergency Management Agency is always there to help. It is there to prepare people before disasters. It is there to help people during the disaster. After disaster, it is there to help people recover. All right, questions. What is this story about? What causes disasters? How people can prepare for an earthquake? An agency that helps people with disasters. Who runs the Federal Emergency Management Agency? I would say it's an agency that helps people with disasters. What would be an example of a man-made disaster? A fire that started from lightning, an ocean wave that swept houses away, a big snowstorm that shut down, an oil tanker that split open in the water. All right, think about how the word hazardous relates to safe, being that they are the opposites. What words relate in the same way? So hazardous, safe, spotted, see, evacuate, stay, zone, floodplain, natural, disaster. So we want evacuate means to go, and to stay means to stay. What might FEMA do to prepare people for disaster? Help move hurt people to doctors? Rebuild a town after a hurricane strikes? Get drinking water to people in hazardous areas? Stop people from building houses close to the water? Now it says prepare for disaster, not after a disaster. So we want tell people not to build houses close to the water. Volunteers at the Children's Center did not look at the floodplain, bolt down cribs and televisions, put special shields over lights, bolt water heaters on the wall. They didn't look at the floodplain.